ABC Illawarra is where you are. That is Kim Salmon from his new record, Smoked Salmon. It's going to be here March 21. That's really soon, playing with the Drifting Deadbeats and Richie Weed from Tumbleweed at La La La's. Kim Salmon, hello there.
Hello, Lindsay. How are you going there?
I'm good. You sound so calm and reserved compared to the guitar sound on that song and that multi-octave riff.
Multi-octave riff. I like that. Gee, I mean, I've only just resigned from my teaching job as a music teacher at JMC, so I didn't waste my time there. Obviously, multi-octave riffing.
Can I ask?
That's an arpeggio. Can I tell you that?
Yes,
It's an arpeggio.
it's an arpeggio, but it seems to jump up, and it kind of goes with the vocal. Does it go with the melody line of the "Hell in a Handbasket" line, the chorus kind of?
Yeah, it does a bit. Yep.
Yeah.
So we chucked in one of those major seventh kind of Dave Graney sort of chordal effects too.
Yes, Dave. You played with Dave. You played with Claire a lot as well, haven't you?
Yeah, well, she was actually in the original Smoked Salmon lineup, so it's stayed.
That's right. I did read that. I want to get. Well, I was reading that as I was reading the lyrics to this song. I love how you've managed to be singing both about Hieronymus Bosch and French fries. So maybe give people a bit of context to "Hell in a Handbasket."
Oh, you got to. What is the thing? I guess I was just thinking. We're heading back for the dark ages. We've been heading back there since Brexit or before, really. But what's going on in the States and everything. It's just like I've been kind of thinking that for a long time, even before the way elections have gone all around the world. I've been thinking that people just aren't that great. They will disembowel each other and behead each other given half the chance. Half of humanity at least would do that. We're prepared to carry on like that. And we're the same species we were back in the Middle Ages. We're not. We haven't actually evolved, an extra brain or anything like that. So it's kind of what hope is there for us. So it's not. I'm not a guy that's offering hope for humanity here in this song.
Well, how do the songs come to you? Because in the press release, you talk about songs tapping on your window or banging on your door. I mean, you've been making songs since mid '70s or earlier, back at the beginnings of punk, and then of course helping kickstart grunge. How do songs come to Kim Salmon?
I just listen for them. I don't ignore them. They have, it's really when you get an idea or some turn of phrase or some thought, just be ready for it and not just think, oh yeah, I'll write it down later. That's the time to. It used to be Dave Faulkner, my old mate. He said back in the day he used to ring himself up and put a message on his answer phone.
Yes.
If he had a melody. And I kind of thought, yeah, that's a good one. And that's kind of like, you got iPhone memo and you kind of got no excuse. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you have some dream, you should write it down. So I've learned over the years not to waste it.
Yeah.
These ideas probably come to everybody, but I just learned to speaking of Dave, have my antenna out and I kind of just... let it come in.
It's a little early for Come On Spring, though, if we're going to go down that antenna Dave Faulkner route. It's only autumn.
However, it is a part of my Salmon repertoire. We do actually play that song, even if it's inappropriate as it is weather-wise. But, global warming and everything, we'll get there quicker.
When you wrote that song, when you and Dave and Antenna put those songs together, was that also, were you, having songs bang on your door and remembering to write them down back in those days?
I suppose so. I think with that particular one, it was actually it was a chord progression. I wanted to copy Serge Gainsbourg's Bonnie and Clyde. I tried to come up with something like that. I really liked that. And I gave it to the guys and said, here's what I got. And the two beat guys put this kind of groove to it. And the moment I heard this thing, it was like you could hear it. You could see it had the vibe of, we had a gut full of winter and we want spring to happen. And it was kind of like I started writing lines about that coming up from the deep and so forth, and kind of fell asleep and then woke up the next morning with my tape player ready to, and I said to myself or to the tape player or something, come on, spring, do your thing. And it literally happened. It was kind of That's what I'm saying. You kind of just got to be ready for it, you know. You know, when I was young, I wasn't, you know. I kind of ignored all that sort of stuff coming at me, but I've
Right.
learned.
I'm gonna give them to you.
Talking to Kim Salmon. New record, Smoked Salmon. Which also, you were ready for it. You got the songs. You got your, I don't know, a little bit of like, I don't know, David Bowie kind of yelling, all the young dudes kind of thing in this. But then you also went all around the world, well, a couple of places in the world to record this album.
Yeah, well, I was touring France on the back of a scientist tour, but Dimi Darrow, who's this wonderful drummer that I work with in France, and Delphine Ciampi, we kind of put that band together years ago, and I took Douglas Galbraith, the guy who he wrote the Salmon book, you know.
He's your
Kim
biographer.
Salmon and the Formula for Grunge. Yeah,
Yes.
that thing. He came over and played some guitar for me and some keys because he's actually a really good backing singer. So I wanted to take him along. So
And
we
he can
had a
tell
drink.
everyone. He can tell everyone that you helped kickstart grunge as well. He can show everyone the book.
Yeah, well, you know, I took a few copies. I don't know. It's his book, so he's the one that makes the money, not me.
Right. So it was like, yeah. So people over in Europe and also people in Australia, but over in France is where you were for some of this. Yeah.
Yeah. I said to Demi, got some studios around there. What do you reckon? And he found one near his home in Perpignan, and it was great. The guy Sylvain Philippon in Le Stereodrome was really, he was up for it. That's Hell in a Handbasket was one of the ones we put, and Hey Hey Narcissus, the backing groove for that. So it was pretty easy. We just got to. It's the same with the songs. You just got to be ready, and you know, the band was at the end of a tour, so I think we were kind of ready to do whatever.
You would know about putting together the people, though. You've put together so many groups of people to make music in your life. You would know, I guess, about putting those pieces together into the musical puzzle.
Well, yeah, when you start out, when you're young punk rockers, you kind of don't know about that stuff. You don't know who's going to be around for longer, who you're going to get on with. You don't think about any of those things. So invariably what happens with people in their first bands, and quite often these are the bands that have the hit records that kickstart their careers, they, they end up hating each other by the third album. And that's why all those classic bands in the 60s and 70s, you know, they're all squabbling messes later on. It's because they started them off when they didn't know what sort of people to pick for their bands. They were immature.
Which brings us quite nicely.
They can never ever know the truth because they got their own. You must protect their world so they don't blow up yours. They call them rock stars.
How Did They Ever Manage by Kim Salmon of Smoked Salmon, which perhaps you were aiming in any particular direction with this song?
Oh, I was wondering when somebody was going to ask that. You're thinking about me, aren't you?
The narcissistic, psychopathical, egotistical people, the devils that you in the spoken word bit.
Yes, well, they're all the same people that are in Hell in a Handbasket in the Bosch paintings. You know, they populate my world.
Right. Yes. Yeah. They get a lot of my.
You get called Kim Salmon and the Surrealists. You know.
True. That's right. But you would, I mean, as you said, you mean people people put bands together without really thinking of the long term, and you've been making music for decades, so you would have found a few people to fit the lyrics over the years.
Yes, yeah, they're not the same people that I have in my bands, though. I don't work with those.
Oh,
people.
Very smart. Yes. Well, there are so many bands.
Keep them out of my music.
Yeah, lyrically, they inform your lyrics a little bit, I suppose.
Yes, indeed.
We've spoken a little bit about Antenna, and you sort of have these so many different directions, so many different tentacles. From the guitar-addled stuff from the Scientists and the Beasts. Antenna with that electronic vibe, more trad country, I suppose, with the beautiful Rompino in Darling Downs, and that's sort of barely scratching the surface. When you are thinking of songs, do they come in a certain style and genre? Like, do they come as big guitar songs, or do you adjust the ideas to go with whatever band you're writing for?
Bit of both.
Excellent answer.
Well, just as an example, how did they ever manage? Literally, it was thinking about those kind of people, and I just wrote them down. I kind of had the idea and wrote them down. When I pulled over to park, because the idea came at me when I was driving to the swimming pool. So in the car park, I wrote them down, and then on the way out, I was just thinking. I just thought of a melody. I kind of thought, well, how would I sing it? And then the chorus came to me. It was like, well, rock stars. How did they? I just kind of it came as a vocal melody, and got home and I figured out what the chords were. And so that one kind of came the way it did. I suppose I was thinking, to me, it sounded like maybe Alice Cooper or something. You know how he did the song like maybe No More Mr. Nice Guy or something like that. They're kind of almost middle of the road songs with heavy bits in them.
Yes,
that's what this song is.
I had Tex Perkins on the show the other day as well. Cruel Sea just put out a new record, but you and he have been back together for a pretty beautiful reason as well, as he said, wanting to play shows with James Baker, who's been one of your mates since the Scientists days. And so you've also then accidentally kind of put out a new Beasts album as well. So has it been? Yeah, that's kind of what he said. That it was like, well, we've got this time, let's do this. James is still around, if I can talk so darkly.
Yeah, well, in actual fact, there's more to that story. He's just scratched the surface.
Right.
At the time that little bit of touring last year was going on, we're just reaching the end of it, and I had 5 or 6 recording dates booked in 3 different studios, with about that many songs for the Smoked Salmon album, all sort of recorded, but they all needed vocal parts. Sometimes most of the lyrics. And I was there feverishly trying to get these things ready in time. And he springs this idea of saying, let's make a record. And I'm thinking, it's going to suck all my juice out. What's going to happen? But you'll do it for James. Would you do it for James? And I thought I couldn't say no. So I had to make this Beast record. And of course, he went back to his ranch and his garage band and feverishly wrote. So I had to kind of try and match his pace there.
All right.
Because he was saying, you write lyrics, don't you? James is a lyric writer. And
yeah.
When we were sort of touring, at the end part of that tour, I was saying to James, because back in the old days when he and I were writing in The Scientists, that partnership was sort of like the one I had with Ron Pino. It was quite magical. You couldn't tell whose contributions finished and started, really. He kind of wrote the lyrics, but I kind of did as well, and I kind of wrote the music, but he kind of informed it. I knew I could sort of read his mind. I knew what he liked, and it was sort of kind of the same with Ron. Ron would sing a guitar part, and I'd play it. It would be like that, and then I'd kind of come up with maybe some vocal lines for him, and then he'd kind of go with it because he could run with anything, Ron. But it was kind of that same sort of magic. And I said to James, we used to be giving them away back in the day. Like we gave Dropout. We gave Dropout to Perkins,
Right.
That was a Scientist song. That was a leftover Scientist song.
Right.
So I think we were writing this shit, man. We were kind of giving them away. Let's do it again. Let's have another go, James. Let's do it. And he came up with the lines. He texted these lyrics late one night, and it was called The Ballad of Rock and Roll. And I kind of I just had to sniff the lyrics to know that they were classic.
Yeah.
I didn't have to look at them. And I got this little guitar out and started playing it, and it kind of came to me. And I said to Perkins and Boris, I said a message saying, me and Baker reckon the Beasts need a power ballad. Here it is. And of course Perkins adds his thing to it, and he kind of took it to the next level. Some brilliant writing in there. That thing of like, sometimes I dress like a girl, sometimes I dress like a god. Ain't it just like the world's got me living like a homeless dog? It's like, that's just brilliant. I love it. I love that song, and it's sort of real great sort of intersection of what Perkins and Baker and me could do. I was just so proud of that song.
Yeah. Kim Salmon is with us. The Beast album Ultimo is out, but the new Kim Salmon album, Smoked Salmon, is out, and you're going to be here on the 21st of March playing with a bunch of bands. And I've got to ask about this There's this song on Smoked Salmon, Swamptacular Vernacular. This the guitar's got this repeat sort of tremolo on. There's this psychedelic synth line going on as well, and you're just having a spray at lots, some sort of stream of consciousness going on.
Yeah, well, actually, that is one song that wasn't actually written for the Smoked Salmon album. That actually was written a bit before, making a liar out of what I said earlier, because I had this leftover idea. It was Perkins again, because if we go back so far, and it's not just me and James, but me and Perkins, it was like, excuse me.
That's all right.
So he said one night in his phone exchange, let's make a song. And he was sending me these pictures that were kind of like caterpillars and shit, and I was getting freaked out. And I went to sleep on it.
The salamander.
And I woke up. Yeah, well, he hated salamanders. I remember that. That's why I called the band Salamander Jim.
Yeah.
We had that band together.
Yeah.
I had this thing, and I sent it to him, this idea, and he was kind of like going to write something with it, but kind of you say all that stuff, and it never happened. And when we were doing the Beast writing, I flung it back at the band. I thought, well, come on, this is up the Beast Sally. And but nobody paid any attention to that one. They ignored it. So I thought, oh, bugger them, I'm taking it for Smoked Salmon. So that's how I did. That's how that one came about. But yeah, they were just it was stream of consciousness. Kind of hit me in a dream, really.
It sounded like it'd be a very fun song to play live. Who is in the band for these shows? Because as you said, the album came with a couple of different groupings here and in France. I know you've had a local bloke, Sam Warred, has been in the band recently. So who's going to be here?
Yeah, well, he'll be there.
Yep.
He'll be there. It'll be Claire Birchall on keys and lead guitar and some lead vocal.
Mm-hmm.
And Douglas Galbraith on the drums and backing vocals. So that's the lineup. Kind of like the Melbourne chapter, but with Sam instead of Jeff. Right.
Yeah. And as in playing with people that you are no strangers to, Dave Ketley's band, Drifting Dead Beach, Dave Ketley from Birdman, and Richie Weed from Tumbleweed, and you've been playing shows with Tumbleweed as well. So it's going to be pretty rad when you all get up on stage and start cranking out stuff on Friday, March 21st.
It'll be happy families.
Happy families, dark lyrics. And does that mean Claire gets to do Hey Hey Narcissus?
Yep, we've worked up a version that, because that was Delphine's kind of groove that made that thing happen. But I've cooked up some lyrics, a vocal line that when I sang it sort of sounded like I was trying to rip off Lou Reed.
Ah.
So I kind of gave them to Claire, and she started sounding like she was ripping off Kim Gordon. And then the engineer said, "No, we want Claire, not Kim." And she got it. Via Lucinda Williams, but we got there in the end.
That's a good place to go via. That's nice. Excellent.
No, Claire could do a Lucinda Williams cover band if she so desired. She's a great singer.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll see you here Friday, March 21st. Smoked Salmon being launched. Kim Salmon and band. So good to have you here on ABC Illawarra. We'll talk to you again at some point. I'm sure there's so many more things we haven't even touched on.
Oh, indeed. It's a pleasure talking to you, Lindsay.
Thanks so much, Kim. That was rad. Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
Absolute honour. Have a good afternoon.